Hey, Sam again from Rainbow Stitches. It's super late at night and I probably shouldn't be up this late. However, I'm being haunted by the thought of how many WIPs I have. Work in progress, remember? WIP. So, I have a sister-in-law with a baby on the way, and I've already given her one of the blankets that I'm making for her. I'm also making a quilt, and tonight I'm gonna make the swaddle. I got 2 big pieces of muslin, and they're kind of gender neutral, but not everything that a baby gets has to be pink or blue. So, I'm super excited to show you how to piece muslin together, and we're gonna do this basically the same way that we did the blanket before, where we sew them together, right sides together, leave a little hole, turn it inside out. We're not gonna use basting spray this time. I'm gonna use pins, and I'm gonna show you how to install a walking foot. So, it's super quick, simple, easy. Let me show you the fabric that we got. Okay, so here's the front. I know that's probably backwards in this shot, but it says, "Be brave, little one." And up here it says, "You are our biggest adventure." It was so cute. And for the back of it, I'm gonna have like a coordinating just yellow. Like I said, let's stick these right side together. Let me show you how to pin them. That way you know where to leave, how much of a space, all that. So I've got 3 of the 4 sides pinned, and I kind of just wanted to show you what I was doing with this last side so you could see how I'm leaving space and marking off where I'm not going to sew, because we're going to sew a perimeter but leave probably 6 inches, 8 inches open so that we can turn this right side out, and then we'll sew it all closed just like we did the other blanket. And as you'll notice on this one, our selvages aren't the same length. So I'm having to feel the bottom fabric where that selvage starts, and I'm marking where my seam line's going to be with these pins. So I'm going to turn these pins this way, maybe, and place them like this. I'm giving myself kind of a small space, but I can't sew close to my pins, so actually I'm leaving like this much space. I'm not going to sew in this area again, so I can flip this around. Let me finish pinning this up. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of show you my setup here, because it's, again, not that big, nothing crazy. I've got my box to put my pins in, and this is Sonia. She's beautiful and wonderful and super helpful, but right now she's got the wrong foot. There's a piecing foot, and she needs a walking foot, because both of these materials are kind of stretchy and hard to handle. So let me show you how to put on a walking foot. Right now we have on a piecing foot, and that has just like this little metal bar so that we can keep that 1/4 inch seam allowance as we're sewing. But for this, we're going to be sewing further than a 1/4 inch. We're going to have excess fabric over here. So we have to take this foot and this ankle off in order to put our walking foot on. So I've got my cute little flathead here that came with my machine. And there's a screw. Let me move the threading so I don't see. Maybe you can see it. My fingernail's on this screw here. I'm going to unscrew that. And then if you pull up the lever, like you're pulling up the foot, that'll give you the extra slack that you need to pull out this foot. And this is normally what you see a foot as. And then this is what's called the ankle. Makes sense, right? Put that back in there. And then this is a walking foot. When this lever moves, additional feed dogs go down, just like the feed dogs that I have here that pull my fabric along. These feed dogs are going to do the same thing. So again, when this lever moves, these feet are going to pull my fabric backwards on top. And that way you'll have like a pulling motion on both sides instead of just the moving of feet on the bottom. So because this little arm is so important to the function, make sure that you put this little arm on this arm on your machine before screwing it on. So lift this arm up, place it on top of the other, and then finagle the other pieces around that screw. Around that screw. And then you'll just tighten it down. And it doesn't have to be crazy tight, but it has to be secure. So make sure that's there. Alright, so I know I said we'd have a lot of extra fabric over here. It's because this fabric is so much shorter than this one. So I'm going to have my hand underneath of here almost the entire time, kind of spreading this back out to make sure that it's under the needle as we go. Also, make sure you're removing your pins as you go. That way, obviously, you're not leaving any pins in a baby blanket, and you're definitely not running over any of these pins. Do not, for any reason, ever run over a pin, safety pin, sewing pin, whatever, with a sewing machine. It will break your needle. It could seriously damage your machine. Don't do it. So enough of the lecturing. Let's get rolling. Alright, so I picked a thread that kind of blended in here, but you can see my seam line. I've got a lot of extra fabric on this side. So what I'm going to do is take the scissors, go all the way around, and instead of the normal 1/4 inch seam, we're going to do a 1/2 inch, just because these fibers are so loose. And it's a baby blanket. It's going to get washed an numerous amount of times. So make sure you do the trimming before you go to flip this. Give probably at least a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch space from your seam line to where you cut off your excess fabric, because otherwise this will come unraveled. So I got all the excess trimmed off. Here's our opening. Oh, and If you don't want gigantically bulky corners, just snip them off. Nothing crazy, but it eliminates that extra tiny bit of fabric and keeps it from getting too bulky. So, go back to the opening here, reach your arm all the way through, maybe if I can find it, down to the other corner, poke this corner into your hand, and pull it back through like a magic trick. You can go back down, find your other corner, poke it into your hand, and pull it through. And if you didn't back stitch before your opening, you might pop a couple stitches, but it's okay because we're going to sew the perimeter again. Pull these corners out. You go through, get this all adjusted, and then we'll get it back under here again and push it through one more time, sealing off our opening and finishing the blanket. Alright, so I felt like my muslin was trying to fight me a little bit, so I had to pin the opening closed. And try to get these as flat with each other as I could. And we're gonna do kind of a half, 5/8 of an inch seam around here, kind of holding all of this closed and down. Because I don't know if you can see through that with the light. Kinda. So you see the extra fabric that's inside of the seam stops here. I want to kind of clip that a little bit with my needle, try and follow along, make a straight edge anyhow. That way I can, like I said, try and hold this down and give it extra stability. But the audacity of this fabric, it's been fighting me this whole time, so you're going to see me adjusting quite a bit. Here it is. Well, it's beautiful glory. It's a big old swaddle blanket. Make sure you wash it before you give it to somebody, because if for some reason they don't, muslin that you get from the store is really scratchy and terrible. Also, more pro tips, don't try and force this through your machine, meaning don't push or pull from the other end. Let your feed dogs do the work. And that's why I said try and use a walking foot, because it's going to do the work for you. Don't force it, because these materials are super stretchy and any sort of pulling back and forth is going to warp it and make your seams all wonky. But the lion, the witch, and the audacity of this fabric, it fought me the entire time. So I'm gonna wash it, make sure the seams hold, and if they don't, send it back through the machine again, maybe give it a zigzag stitch to hold it better, but I think we got it. So once I wash it, it'll become super soft and wrinkly, and that like fluffy muslin swaddle material that we're used to. if for some reason you want to know how to swaddle a baby correctly, comment down below, let me know, and I'll do a video and show you how to swaddle a baby. I super love using these blankets to swaddle. I used them for both of my kids. I didn't make them for either of my kids because I didn't know how at the time, but I bought the expensive ones from the store, and by far these are a lot less expensive and they feel a lot more personal. I feel like it just creates a memory that's soft and cuddly, you know? Any user, thanks so much for stopping by.